In this video, we're going to be doing some work on this small food plot. Let's go ahead and start in my backyard, and I'll show you what it's like leading up to this food plot, give you an idea of sort of how the ground rolls, a little bit about how thick the woods are, show you the chestnut trees that we're dealing with, which is also another food source for the deer. And actually, I think I got some video of some deer. So if you guys are not real familiar, this is a chestnut tree. This is, I'm not entirely certain what variety of chestnut this is, but the deer absolutely love them. That deer we just saw in the backyard, she was actually down here under these trees when I saw her first. But you can see how prickly these things are, and you can see that this pod is opening up right now, and inside this prickly little pod, the nuts themselves, I think there's multiple nuts in there. I don't mess with them much. The deer absolutely love them. The deer will be down here under these trees. They just started, these pods just started opening up in the last week or so, and I'm already noticing a lot more deer activity under these trees. So they'll be down here taking advantage of this over the next month or two. But these prods, I mean, they are super duper prickly. If you accidentally bump into these, which I have while mowing, they break off in your skin, and I mean, they are nasty, nasty little things. Looked away for a second and deer ran across the trail. Oh, there she goes down the trail there. I'm zoomed in all the way. Just standing there checking us out. There she goes. We're making her a little nervous back here. Okay, so we're not going to be working the whole food plot. We're just going to stick to this back third here. You can see I've had a fire. There was a big brush pile here. The food plot itself is about 100 yards long, and it's very narrow, so it makes it's a big triangle, big long skinny triangle. A couple of years ago, I cleared out a trail back there, and clearing that trail, big blowdown and some brush and stuff, I made a pile here. And then shortly after that, we had a big cherry tree that coincidentally fell down right on top of that pile. So I cut the log off, and actually it was so big I sold those logs to a guy with a sawmill. But the top I left laying here, and I really didn't plan on leaving a big nasty mess at the end of this food plot, but it was easier just to leave it sit here, be sort of habitat. I thought about making sort of a blind out of it, but it just turned into a big pile of weeds, and I finally did burn that up. It's been sitting for about 2 years, so that top was good and dry. And you can see that I lit that on fire Friday night. Today is Sunday. I'll show you what it looked like when I first lit it on fire. So then I babysat it all night Friday night. I think I finally left back here at like 2 a.m. So the fire was in good shape. I came back Saturday morning and pushed it all back up so it would continue to burn. So then now here we are Sunday. So we've got an area here that tractor has mashed down. This was all weeds growing around this big top of this big cherry tree. And then when I did that work back there, bringing all that brush out, I accidentally cut ruts. And once I started to cut ruts, I said, in it for a penny, in it for a pound. So when I cut those ruts, I made a mess back there. It doesn't look it right now, but there are really deep, really bad ruts in, and I want to go ahead and we're going to clean this mess up, and we're going to till all, from about here back, about a third of this plot will get tilled up. That'll take care of those ruts, get those smoothed all out. I'm going to drag these hot coals out, and rather than dousing them with water, we're just going to go ahead and till them in the dirt. That'll put them out. You see that ground moving? There's a mole working right there. This is a smoldering hot pile of coals. It's still smoking. There's a lot of heat in that pile. And there's a mole working right there. He's in for a real surprise here in a few minutes because I was just about to start up the tractor with that tiller on the back. So we're gonna ruin that mole's day. Well, we're all tilled up, looks real good. I will say that those ruts caused me a little more grief than I thought they would. I had to run over them. Well, some of them I ran over 2 or 3 times, I don't know. The fire tilled in pretty good. Seemed like one chunk of wood. You can see I run it over and kind of busted it up. That one chunk of wood still wanting to smoke and smolder, but it ain't gonna be no problem. So the ruts ended up coming out okay. Just had to hit them a few times. This is laying down real smooth now. So I just got back from my local farm store, and you saw the selection that they had of the different seed. This is what I got. Some white Dutch, some Ladino, medium red, put some turnips in there, and a little bit of alfalfa just for good measure. And you can see the quantities that I'm using. It's small quantities because I figured up the size of that. It ends up being like 0.17 acres. So this is way overkill for that small of an area, but that's what we're putting down. Well, the bottom of the bag is leaking. That's why it's sitting on its side, and that's why there's some already in there. Probably about half. I made sure I got everything that had been tilled, at least some. And then when I went over sort of multiple times, I was focusing mostly out in the middle. Because again, you know, it's pretty shady over here on these edges, and the best chance for this stuff to grow is actually out here in the middle. So that's sort of what I focused on. But everything did get covered. And I don't know how well it's coming up on camera or not, but most of the seeds you can't see, but them little white ones you sure can. And if you figure the white ones are about, well, I'd have to look back at the video, but I think we bought 4 different things. I think we got 3 different clovers and the turnips. So I think there was 4 things, might have been 5. But even if there was 4 things, then the white ones would be about 25%. So if we can see 25% of the seed, and it looks like pretty good coverage, then odds are the other 75% of the seed, they're in there and we don't even see them, but that means we got excellent coverage. So I'm pretty happy about it. I'm gonna go ahead and jump on the tractor now. I don't have a cultipacker, but for an area this small, even this whole field, I've done this same way before. You just drive over it with a tractor. You move over a tire width, drive it, move over a tire width, drive it, and you can cultipack basically this whole area in pretty short order. Well, that's it, we're done. It looks great. I feel like I got really good coverage with the tractor. You know, it's a little bit tedious back and forth, and you want to try to get as big a bite as you can. So there are certain small spots, you know, that I missed with the tractor tires, but overall it compacted down really well. I mean, overall this looks great. I'm glad to see that big nasty brush pile gone. I didn't have to haul off any of that brush. That was one of my big concerns. Those logs were so big. I mean, we're talking some of that stuff was probably 20-inch diameter logs. So I was really afraid that wouldn't all burn down, but I'm glad to see that it did. You know, there's little chips left over, but heck, that's nothing. So I'm glad to see that big nasty brush pile gone out of here. But even more than that, those ruts worked out very well. Again, I had to till them multiple times, but going over it with a tractor just now, you can't even feel where those ruts were. So I'm really happy about that. Get those ruts out of here, because that was making, you know, if you wanted to come back here like on my mower when I knocked it down, you know, a few days ago, I nearly got my mower stuck more than once back here mowing around these ruts. So really it made it a mess. It was, you know, the weeds were taking over because of the ruts. So to get those ruts out of here is great. You know, just makes this more usable. I went ahead and tilled all the way back this little path to my tree stand. And I did that for a couple of reasons. One, I tilled it up, you know, so that I could plant it. Heck, I'm back here planting. I might as well plant just a little bit more. So I went ahead and planted it all the way back here. If I can walk one up right to the bottom of the tree, I'm not going to argue about that. The other reason I tilled this was my grandpa used to run his little tractor and tiller back through the woods, and he had the nicest trails. I mean, they were smooth. You go back here on a golf cart or his old Gator, he had just the prettiest trails back through the woods. And I'll tell you what, this worked out real well. So this is the first time that I've tilled sort of back in the woods. This, you know, I was just kind of trying it out to see if it worked out like Grandpa used to do. And man, I'm telling you, this is nice. So, you know, right there's that tree stand. I'll have a pretty good line of sight out here, at least up the edge. And once this foliage comes off, you know, the leaves start falling, I'll be able to see out here even more. Hopefully this will be nice and lush and green in the fall, and you know, just in time for deer season. I'll keep you guys updated, so click that subscribe button and I'll make updates on this, maybe at you know, every few days or every week or something like that, just to let you know how it turns out. I'll probably make those in YouTube shorts. If you guys have got any questions or comments, leave them down below. If you like this video, click that thumbs up button. If you want to see more videos like this, click the subscribe button. And until the next time, keep on tinkering.